right at the very end of Jesus' third year of public ministry, he's on his way to the cross, he's in Jerusalem. It's like one of the very last things that happens is that he's sitting on a hillside overlooking Jerusalem with several of his disciples. And they ask him the question. They go, Lord, tell us what's going to happen. Tell us how this is all going to end, basically. And he says that in these last days, there's going to be like birth pangs. There's certain events, things are going to happen. And because there's going to be an escalation of world violence, there's going to be wars and rumors of wars. He says there's going to be an escalation of natural disasters, earthquakes, and so on. He says there's going to be a breakdown of social and ethical values. There's more sin in the world. There'll be famines. There'll be world hunger. There'll be plagues and pestilence and disease, an increase. There'll be an increase, basically, of human suffering. And then he gives 3 parables in a row, all 3 of which are really a picture of the last days and the second coming of Christ. That a master goes away, he leaves his plantation or his estate to a steward, and he comes back unannounced. And based on how that steward cared for his stuff, is how that steward is judged. Then there's one about 10 bridesmaids. Some were complacent, some were unprepared for the second coming, and then he comes and, they're not ready. And then there was the next one was the parable of the talents. Like he gave people three different stewards. He gave them a certain amount of money or talents. I always think of it as talent, actually gifting, and he goes away and then he comes back unannounced and judges them on how they used that. I think of people's lives who were given tremendous gifting and tremendous opportunity, and some more than others. And how the Lord, when he returns, is going to say, hey, how did you use the stuff I gave you? Was it used well? Well, anyway, then it goes into Matthew 25 and on down until it comes to that place. I think many, many Christians are very aware of this passage where he's talking about the separation of the sheep and the goats. I think this is all connected. And he says, but when the Son of Man comes in his glory and all of the angels with him, then he will sit upon his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered in his presence, and he will separate the people as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will place the sheep at his right hand and the goats at his left, and then the king will say to those on his right, come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom that's been prepared for you from the creation of the earth, or the world. And then he says this, for I was hungry and you fed me, I was thirsty and you gave me a drink, I was a stranger and you invited me into your home, I was naked and you gave me clothing, I was sick and you cared for me, I was in prison, and you visited me. And then his disciples said to him, Lord, when did that ever happen? Like, when were you ever sick? When were you ever in prison? When were you ever thirsty? When were you ever hungry? And then he said, as you did it to the least of these, you did it to me. Now, I've heard that my whole life. And I just never really thought too much about it until I got involved in creation care. Because what happened when I was involved in the creation care movement, I realized this really isn't just like maybe on the surface it's about recycling aluminum cans or something. But what the biggest issue is that when the environment goes down, the poor go down first. And I'm telling you right now, a glass of water in today's world, in many parts of this world, is like life. And it's like it has a whole new meaning for me. I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty. You gave me a glass of water. And it's like, in this earth, we have water everywhere, but not a drop to drink in many of the parts of the world. And I realized that what he's saying is this is an issue of separation. This is pretty serious. This is what he's calling his people to, is to participate with him, not just go and wait for him to return, as many Christians do. Oh, I got saved back in, 95, and I'm just waiting for heaven. It's calling them to participate, and as they participate with him, especially among the extreme poor of this world, they literally are doing it unto him. It's a form of worship. It's a form of true discipleship, of not just letting this all go down and saying it doesn't matter because I'm being unaffected. Because in the end, that's a point of judgment. And that's a scary place to be. The church is called to participate with the Lord in this hour, in these ways, in very strategic and functional ways.